That awkward moment when you're super behind on your filming schedule because you got a new job and things have been really crazy. Like Casey said, it's been really busy around here, so I'm really sorry that I haven't been posting as much as I thought I would be. Hopefully that'll change in the near future because I really like doing this channel and I want to film things, so moving on. Today I wanted to talk about a book I read recently that I thought was pretty darn superb. The book title is kind of a long one, so bear with me as I have to read it because I do not have it memorized. Love and Friendship, in which Jane Austen's Lady Susan Vernon is entirely vindicated, by Whit Stillman. If you guys watched my birthday haul video, you will have already seen this book, but I finally read it and I thought it was pretty darn good. For those of you who don't know, Love and Friendship is a movie that came out recently that is based off of Jane Austen's Lady Susan, which is her novella that is entirely epistolary that she wrote, I believe, before all of her other novels. I could be wrong on that though, so fact check me on that. Now, when I got this book, I wasn't entirely sure what it was because, I mean, the thing is, Lady Susan's already a book. I thought that it might be, you know, a copy of Lady Susan with maybe an essay about how Lady Susan is vindicated, but the truth is so much better, my friends. This book does include a copy of Lady Susan in its entirety, but at the very end of it, what comes before it is actually a novelization of the movie, but not just a novelization. This book is written from the perspective of, I believe it's Sir Martin's nephew, so in turn, spoiler alert, Lady Susan's nephew, who is writing the novelization of what occurred in order to defend his aunt against the spinster authoress who has so violently slandered her and written such terrible things about her in her epistolary novel. As you can imagine, I friggin' loved this. First and foremost, I wanted to say that the point of view character who was not in the movie and not in Lady Susan is just genius. It's so freaking funny. He goes on and on about how terrible the spinster authoress is. There are a lot of footnotes throughout this book, so I'm gonna read one of them that really defines just how amazing this narration is. To those who object to this inelegant term, authoress, it is the spinster's own. In an impudent letter to His Royal Highness the Prince Regent's librarian, the Reverend James Stanier Clark, she wrote, "I think I may boast myself to be, with all possible vanity, the most unlearned and uninformed female who ever dared to be an authoress. This characterization I will not dispute, despite her evident insincerity in making it." Oh my god. But I will say there are a couple things that I had issues with in this book. Not in, you know, the story of it, because like I've said before, I think the Love and Friendship movie was friggin' hilarious and was a really great movie version of Lady Susan. So plot-wise and character-wise, I really loved this book, but there are a couple things that I had issue with. I'm not sure if this is just me being unaware of how novelizations of movies are written, because it could be that my problems are just kind of a fact of the genre. Because my big thing with this book is that it really did feel like at certain points I was just reading the movie script, and I wasn't a huge fan of that part. For example, there are some pages where it's just straight up dialogue, and yeah, some of it's a little bit different than the movie, but I mean, I've already seen the movie. I didn't need to read the entire thing just straight in front of me. My favorite parts of this book were things that were added alongside the text from the movie. There wasn't a lot of description. It's almost as if this book is just assuming you've seen the movie, so it doesn't have to explain to you what people look like or anything. For example, when Miss Frederica is first introduced, it's just dialogue. "Allow me to introduce our niece, the young girl, Miss Frederica Vernon. Welcome, Frederica. We have longed to know you," just on. And it doesn't say, you know, what she looks like or anything. It just kind of relies on the movie, which again could be a thing of the genre that I'm just not used to because I don't really read novelizations of movies all that much. There were a few moments that had things that I did like in particular from this novelization that were added and just made certain parts of the movie make sense and just elaborated on them in such a perfect way. Lady Susan's nephew writes about his cousin. "My young cousin Frederick Martin hero worshipped Mannering and even grew to resemble him physically, admiration and emulation sometimes having that effect." And there was a section in this book that really helped me understand part of the movie, because if you haven't seen the movie, it's separated into certain sections. Sorry, this is going to be a spoilery thing because I don't know how to do this without being spoilery. And there's a section that says Sir James aids a widow, but I wasn't entirely sure what was going on in that scene. Whereas there's a whole chapter, Sir Martin Aids a Widow, in here that tells you exactly what happens, and I appreciated that. And then at the end of the book, of course, it's Jane Austen's account of Lady Susan, which is just a fabulous read. If you haven't read it, you should definitely read it. It's really quick, it's epistolary, it's just so good. And if you're really wondering what Lady Susan's nephew had to think about the spinster authoress's account of his aunt, the anonymous lady's false account is published here in the same way a physician might seek to heal a wound by expelling its pus. At the end of the day, I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. If you've seen the movie, I really recommend reading it. But, I mean, not enough was added to the movie for me to really think it was any more than 3 stars. Is this the case in most novelizations where it's just a little bit of extra things but not a lot of detail like in normal novels? Am I judging this too hard for what it is? Let me know in the comments below. Those are my thoughts on Love and Friendship, in which Jane Austen's Lady Susan Vernon is entirely vindicated. If you've read this book, let me know what you thought as well. If you've seen the movie, what did you think of the movie? And if you've read Lady Susan, let's talk about how awesome it is. Casey, I will see you next week, and hopefully you guys will see me again next week too.